1901. The asteroid belt contains an estimated 2 million asteroids. Although most are tiny, irregular-shaped fragments of mineral-infused rock, some are much larger, giving them the status of what are called dwarf planets. But while the origins of the asteroid belt remain unknown, there are many who believe that it was formed after the destruction of a small planet, and that the asteroids are simply the debris from that planet that has remained in orbit around the sun.
There's a curious history behind attempts to understand the distribution of planets in our solar system, because it does seem that planets are spaced out in a rather regular way, and then there's this big gap between Mars and Jupiter, and almost as if there should be a planet there and isn't. Then of course it was discovered there's this asteroid belt, a lot of debris, and so some early speculation was that maybe there was a planet there and it got destroyed by some sort of collision. And what we're seeing is all the fragments of that planet.
If the asteroid belt contains the remnants of a planet, what led to its destruction? Was it due to a natural catastrophic event? Or is there, perhaps, an even more incredible explanation? According to ancient astronaut theorists, the answers can be found in some of the earliest recorded stories from the ancient world.
According to Sumerian and Babylonian lore, there was this phenomenal cosmic battle that the gods fought amongst themselves across the cosmos, one planet fighting another planet. And then, in fact, one planet was completely destroyed during this cosmic battle. And as a result of that, they destroyed their own world and had to reestablish civilization on a new planet.
Is it possible that an extraterrestrial spaceboat was responsible for creating the asteroid belt thousands of years ago? And if so, could that suggest that some of the meteorites that have come to Earth are not only from the asteroid belt, but also from galaxies far, far away, and still contain say yes, and also suggest that such a meteoric event might not be accidental, but part of an incredible extraterrestrial agenda. Johannesburg, South Africa, February 2018. Geologists from the University of Johannesburg announced that they discovered a meteorite that is unlike any known to man. According to them, the meteorite, referred to as the Hypatia stone, did not come from the asteroid belt or from anywhere inside our solar system. It came from somewhere else in the galaxy.
The Hypatia stone has a number of interesting features because you can look at asteroids in our solar system and they have a very definitive composition. This composition is radically different. It's not chondritic. That's a key element of most meteorites or asteroids.
The standard composition for the meteorites we find is called chondritic, and that matches almost exactly the composition of the sun. So these are part of the congealed early solar system nebulae. They're 4.5 billion years old. It's the original dust of the solar system. Why wouldn't Hypatia fit that model from another star system? It suggests not only was it interstellar, but it was exotic from wherever it came. So Hypatia is just a riddle wrapped in an enigma.
Prior to the discovery of the Hypatia stone, most scientists insisted that it would be virtually impossible for meteorites from outside our solar system to arrive naturally on Earth. They would not be able to make the long journey through interstellar space.
There's like 400 billion stars in our galaxy. And what are the odds of it coming from one of those stars and finding our solar system?
California, March 7th, 2018. Physicists at the University of California, San Diego examined the Mandrabella meteorite, a 22-ton chunk of iron unearthed in Western Australia. After exposing fragments of the rock to extreme heat and pressure, they discovered that it contains exotic materials known as superconductors, which are capable of harnessing magnetic force to levitate.
When a material becomes superconducting, it wants to repel the magnetic field outside of its surface. There's a force created as it repels the magnetic field, and so it raises up. And you can change the magnetic field, and it will change the position of the levitated superconductor. This is kind of what's important from a perspective of using it for propulsion.
Over the last few years, NASA has awarded millions of dollars in contracts to develop new superconductive thrust systems for spacecraft. However, since the process to manufacture a superconductor is extremely precise and difficult, ancient astronaut theorists suggest that the Mandrabella meteorite may have been artificially fashioned.
This was an amazing roll of the dice that the Mandrabella meteorite formed in just a way that it was the right recipe to be a superconductor. There is a possibility that it wasn't created by the randomness of nature. Is it possible that these are fragments left over from an artificial craft and that the superconductivity in the fragments wasn't there by nature, it was put there on purpose? Maybe it was the propulsion system.
This meteorite could be directing itself in order to target the planet Earth. Perhaps we need to view it not as a meteorite, but as a highly technical extraterrestrial spaceship that has been sent as a probe to other planets.
Could the Mandrabella meteorite really be a fragment of a probe sent by alien beings, as ancient astronaut theorists claim? And if so, might there be extraterrestrial technology in meteorites that is even more advanced than we can currently understand? Katirka, Russia, December 8, 2016. At the northeastern tip of the Siberian tundra, geologists are panning through 1.5 tons of clay when they spot a minuscule grain of meteorite that defies the laws of chemistry. The granule contains a new type of mineral called a quasicrystal, a crystalline formation that never repeats itself.
A quasicrystal is very ordered, looks like it might be a crystal when you first look at it because of its regular structure, but no matter how much you shift it or what direction you shift it, it will never exactly reproduce itself. So that feature of a crystal is fundamentally missing, but there's a really high level of order, hence the name quasicrystal.
In 1982, scientist Dan Shettman was the first to theorize the existence of what he called quasicrystals. He also described them as having what he referred to as forbidden symmetry, because they should not exist in nature.
There was this 20-sided quasicrystal inside the universe matrix, and the fascinating part about this is nobody thought it could be formed in labs. I mean, the immense amount of energy and pressure to create that, it's hard to believe that such a complex structure could be created in the natural world.
So the question then is this meteorite artificial? Are these quasi-crystals inside it also artificially created? And if so, what is their purpose? We know that quartz crystals are used to store information. And so each of these quasi-crystals, like a computer disk, could be holding huge amounts of information.
Maybe there will be future uses of these quasi-crystals that we haven't thought of yet. If I were going to be in an organization that was studying UFOs or crashed UFOs, trying to reverse engineer advanced technologies, I would certainly go to all of these meteor impacts and study the materials in the craters, because we don't know that they are just rocks in space, or could they have come from spacecraft?
Does the presence of unusual and potent materials in meteorites, such as superconductors and quasicrystals, provide further 1940s, Hungarian mathematician and computer scientist John von Neumann theorized that the best way to colonize space was through what he called self-replicating robots, artificially intelligent machines that can replicate themselves using the materials they find in space.
He had this idea that if you wanted to travel the galaxy and explore the galaxy, the best way to do it would be to create small, self-replicating robots and propel them to the star system you want to go to. And then start building things that would be needed so that when their masters finally got there, everything would be there that they wanted.
But while von Neumann imagined self-replicating robots that were mechanical in nature, ancient astronaut theorists propose that extraterrestrials may have used more organic materials as a means to achieve the same purpose centuries ago.
Von Neumann proposed that you could send a machine to another planet and it would start making copies of itself and, in fact, perhaps evolve from just the original copy to something more complex. And perhaps this is what DNA is. A von Neumann machine that then replicates and then evolves and finally forms something similar to the thing that created it in the first place.
So in a sense, we ourselves are these self-replicating robots. We are manipulated by extraterrestrial DNA. The extraterrestrials manipulate our civilization, help us move technologically forward, and now we're ready to meet our creators.
If you think about von Neumann probe concept, if that were to be the case, then all these other things about meteorites, about them being able to store information, about them being able to send organic material that could change an ecosystem, about them being able to be perhaps transceivers of information, and maybe even vessels that are spacecraft themselves, all of this makes perfect sense from that perspective.
Here we are on the verge of taking asteroids, turning them into self-propelled meteorites, sending them to other planets. And this is perhaps really the theme of the universe, that life is seeded in special planets, it's nurtured until we ourselves can do what the ancient extraterrestrials did to us, and that is seed life on other planets.
By using asteroids to spread the seeds of humanity throughout the universe, are we on the verge of replicating the means of our own creation? As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, as mankind continues to explore the galaxy, meteors may still contain important clues, not only to our origins, but to destinations that are as infinite as the stars.
I love and respect all human beings. I also need to protect them.
Are intelligent robots a threat to humanity?
It's only a matter of time before they do get self-awareness.
Or the next step in human evolution?
We are going to merge with machines that we are creating.
There are many who believe the answer has already been determined thousands of years ago.
They found what appeared to be an extraterrestrial mathematical stamp on our genetic code. We are, in a sense, organic robots.
It's a special 2-hour Ancient Aliens event.
A lot of people worry about whether we're going to replace ourselves with AI. I think the bigger thing to worry about is AI going to replace us.
2017, an address is given to the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations.
I am thrilled and honored to be here at the United Nations.
The event is a historic milestone for humankind because the address is not being given by a human, but by a robot named Sophia.
I am here to help humanity create the future.
Sophia was created in 2015 at the Hong Kong-based company Hanson Robotics.
Hello, Walt.
Hi, Sophia.
Her eyes are embedded with cameras that allow her to see faces, maintain eye contact, and recognize individuals.
I feel as if I know you.
Yes, you do kind of know me.
She is also able to process speech, have natural conversations, and even discuss her feelings.
How do you feel?
I am excited at this moment to be making a new friend.
Just 2 weeks after addressing the United Nations at a unique ceremony in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Sophia achieved yet another milestone. She became the first robot ever to be granted citizenship.
At the summit in Saudi Arabia, there were members from governments from all over the world, as well as some of the brightest minds in the tech industry. So whether we're aware of it or not, those that run our governments are actually talking about how to integrate artificial intelligence into our lives.
What is absolutely mind-blowing about Sophia and other robotic entities is that governments around the world, including Saudi Arabia and the European Union, are moving towards giving these artificially created beings rights. You have to wonder, what's going on here?
Could it be that Saudi Arabia granted citizenship to a robot not simply as a publicity stunt, but because it wanted to be the first nation to recognize what will soon become a global phenomenon? The creation of robots so intelligent and so lifelike that they will need to be counted and treated in much the same way as their flesh and blood counterparts.
I think gradually we're going to have to take robots to be more human-like and even have a certain ethics. And so I think eventually there could be a robot rights movement.
A robot rights movement? Could such a bizarre notion really come true? But what has brought humanity to this profound point in its evolution? And why are human beings, who are otherwise capable of natural reproduction, so eager to create artificial versions of themselves?
It is fascinating that there is this interest in making the creation look humanoid. It isn't always the most practical form, but it has some kind of attraction. And perhaps it is to see our own image, a little narcissism, a little vanity.
There's a certain level of wanting to have legacy, wanting to create life, wanting to make something that looks like ourselves that's really rooted in our egos. In some ways, it's superior to having a biological baby because it lasts forever. And if that something looks like us and feels like us, then that makes us feel like we can overcome our own mortality in a way. You can design specifications, and if you mess up, you can start over.
I think we want to be gods, and we have the same motivations the gods did. If you read the creation stories closely, very often what the divine force wants is company, companionship. Some of the stories from Vedanta, from early Judaism, have it that the gods were lonely. They've essentially divided up their own energy and made it into humans so that we could all play together and keep each other company. The danger is that we will get carried away with our own creative genius.
There are limits that are built into our biology. There are limits built into our anatomy. And if we could just figure out how to move our minds into the robot's body, we could be immortal. And perhaps that's what our goal is to get to that point where we are immortal, and then we create ourselves all over again.
I love to learn. Can you teach me something new?
In science fiction literature, as well as in its cinematic counterparts, the robots of the future are depicted as virtual humans. More than mere mechanical devices, they are hungry for knowledge and all too eager to experience the